got away. Feeling good, like I should.
Let me check my chest, my breath right quick. He ain't never seen it in a
I don't know how many voices have ever told you this, but we are the writers of all. Hey Brads, all those who are new to this channel, welcome and welcome back. I hope you plan on staying. The man speaking to you is none other than Bradley, the white polar bear, flow colder than frost, hailing from the southwest of KE all the way up in ELD. Thank you for watching, and we'll be talking about point of view. So let me break it down. Today we will be covering what is a point of view, why you might be experiencing life through the second person point of view, why you should be experiencing life through the first person point of view, how the change in point of view affects our perception, benefits of the first person point of view. Be sure to subscribe if you enjoy very analytical deep dives into concepts that better our overall ways of living. The reason why I do these videos is not only because I love exploring concepts within our world, but I also love it when we can tie it into self-improvement and self-discovery. I hope you enjoy. What is a point of view? Okay, so for each and every story that anyone has ever read, there is always the point of view, which is the position from which the story is being told. One could easily tell the point of view by asking, where is the narrator? Using the point of view, the writer decides who is actually telling the story and to whom is he telling the story. Once the writer enshrines a clear point of view, this will dictate how the reader will interpret details within the story. There are three kinds of point of view, that is first person, second person, third person. Within these three kinds, there are other subgroups, like for example, under the third person, we have third person omniscient, but I just want to go over the three main kinds. First person. This is where the reader will access your story through one person, one perspective. It's kind of like reading someone's diary. Most pronouns you'd see being used is I, me, my, us, we. Though limiting, it is true to how we live our lives. Second person. This mainly uses the pronoun you and is really targeted towards the reader and kind of makes them a character in that story. It allows for the reader to feel engrossed, engaged, and enthralled. Third person. Here, the narrator, the one who is telling the story, has the ability to know everything. You might see pronouns like he, his, she, her, they, them, and it's and it. In third person point of view, here is where we have the most flexibility and a lot of complexity is created. Though I don't want to focus on this, I want to take account of the first person point of view and the second person point of view, because these are the two main lenses from which we live our lives. Why you might be experiencing life through the second person point of view. I want us to take ourselves as the writers of our own story, as we should be, and the readers to be the world around us. Everyone who is seeing your story, everyone who is reading your story, everyone who is viewing your story. But sometimes this is what happens. We switch roles and we find ourselves on the other hand where we are no longer telling our stories to the way that we see it and the way that we want it to unfold, but the opposite is happening where our stories are being told to us. And it goes back to that pronoun commonly used in second person point of view, that is you. You should do this, you should do that, you should be this, you should be that. You can't do this. You're so ugly. You're a hypocrite. You ain't capable. You're not good at this. You're only good at that. And many of us sit there and read this narrative. We become a part of that story. That is not ours. We get fully engrossed in it till we know no other story. Because our story is literally being written for us. Why you should be experiencing life through the first person point of view. I don't don't know how many voices have ever told you this, but we are the writers of our own story. And if no one has ever told you this, let me be the first. For I am here for that sole purpose. Living in first person point of view, everyone is in their rightful role. We have you as the writer of your own story, your own narrative, speaking from a point of I am, yes. Me, I am blessed, I am endowed, I am full of joy and happiness. Yes, this is my character, my wants are such and such out of this life, and they are true to my essence self. So I will write this how I want it and limit the control that readers have over my story, because their work is just to read and view whatever I give them as the writer. In this case, readers are all around us and they will forever be. Let them see our story unfold and not go the other way around to write it for us. How changing point of view affects our perception. There are different classes into which changing point of view from first person to second person can affect our perception, like subjectivity and objectivity. If you have lived most of your life from the second person POV, then you have seen the bitter truths of living as an object that is subjected to many beliefs and assumptions that are not true of the object itself. I mean, who said you can't dream of dancing like a ballerina? Why? Just because you're an African? With living from first person POV, we subject the world around us that they get to perceive us as the black swans twirling on stages to Beethoven on our tippy toes and high tights. You get fully immersed in your own thoughts, feelings and experiences, and not get told what you are supposed to feel or get deluded into thinking you experience something in any other way. You'll get to experience your story in a more personal and emotionally engaging way. Empathy and understanding. Here they always say step into someone else's shoes. But how can you do that when you haven't fitted into your own firstly? Or will it become your fault just because they said so? Just because you had no empathy for yourself first and did take the time to understand where you are coming from, what were your motivations, this being guided by our background, beliefs and experiences. In order to understand somebody else, you have to look within and understand yourself first. Once you've done due diligence going through this approach, you can now apply the same to others. But most of us jump to the other side just to find out what they are all about and have no clue what we stand on internally. How does this resonate with us? Finally, interpretation and bias. See, each and every one of us has their own experiences, beliefs, and biases. This heavily influences our interpretation of information. It is sad that some of us have imposed beliefs and biases that make us adopt conclusions that aren't of our true self, leading us to make assumptions that are driven by our heavily influenced POV. When this happens, you should react this way. And maybe you should think of this. And you could already conclude this because it is this way, but not the way. For when we adopt our first person POV, then our minds are freed of all the influences and we can clearly see things for ourselves the way we should. Benefits of the first person point of view. Well, now right here is when things get physical. Now I'm talking pen and paper friction. If you are already in the practice of journaling, I want you to take out your journal. I want you to take yourself back to an event, any event. It doesn't have to be life-changing, just as long as you experienced it and it affected you in some sort of way. Now, recall it in your mind, fully immerse yourself and experience it through your own lens. After fully getting the picture, you could write it down. If any thoughts and feelings arise, be sure to include it there. At this point, you have created a connection connection with yourself. You are now in touch with all of your feelings and sensations. Congratulations. You can now have empathy for yourself. You could go a step further and highlight any internal struggle that you experienced during this event. Those shifts in character, let's say perspective, gives you insights to the ways that, let's say, you are not acting from your own point of view. All in all, through repetition of this practice, the theme of self-discovery gets emphasized over and over again. You build resilience the more you do this, enough to establish your own point of view that is untainted. You'll get a clear picture of your subject experience and slowly start to realize personal growth of your own lens and view. You'll get to a point where you could fully empathize with the inner you. You'll foster a compassion between your relationship with self. Point of view refers to the perspective from which a story is being told. Significantly, it impacts how we perceive and experience life. While second person can lead to a sense of feeling like you're externally controlled and being judged, when you embrace the first person perspective, it empowers us to become the authors of our own lives, our own story. When you start living authentically, expressing your unique self and focusing on self-understanding, you develop a greater self-awareness, resilience, and a deeper connection with yourself. This shift in perspective from second person to first person, it fosters self-discovery and allows us to live more fulfilling lives, free from the constraint of external expectations placed on you. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that people's perspectives are invaluable. What I know for sure is we cannot operate life from other people's perspectives. They can be very insightful and show us more than what we can see, but it is up to us to have a very clear and distinct voice that truly reflects our inner self and not what the world expects from us and what the world wants out of us. We've come to the end, brads. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did making this. It would mean a lot if you subscribed to this beautiful channel, you hit that like, and be sure to share with other brads alike. I'ma see you on the other side. Lively.
I'm feeling good, like I should.
Let me check my chest, my breath right quick. He ain't never seen it in a dress like this.